Patrick R. Renwick on the occasion of his retirement from the United States Air Force. Officiating today's ceremony will be Indiana's Adjutant General, Major General Dale Lyles. Throughout the ceremony, you will be given cues to stand and be seated. We request at this time that all electronic devices be silenced for the duration of the ceremony. During the national anthem, military personnel should stand at the position of attention, and our civilian guests should place their right hand over their heart. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem and the invocation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Before I pray, I would like to have a reading from Psalm 71. O God, from my youth you have taught me, and I still proclaim your wondrous deeds. So even to old age and gray hairs, O God, do not forsake me, until I proclaim your might to another generation, your power to those to come. That was King David's prayer toward the end of his reign. If you would please pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, I pray for your presence at this retirement ceremony. We give thanks to you for the impactful career and work of General Renwick. Thank you for all of his efforts and dedication to the men and women of the 181st, the 122nd, this state, and our nation. Bless him as he transitions from his military duty to his future endeavors. Go with him and Jamie into the blessings to come. In all things, may he be a blessing to those around him, and at the end of his work, may he give thanks to you and recount all the wonderful deeds that you have worked through him. It's in your Son's name that I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Freeze, Master Sergeant Simerson, and Senior Master Sergeant Retired Buck. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Today, the Air Force honors Brigadier General Patrick R. Renwick on the occasion of his retirement after 33 years of distinguished service to his country. Before we get started, General Renwick, could you please come forward, sir, and introduce your special guest?
Good afternoon, and thank you for coming. I truly appreciate it. You'll get some more words from me later, so I'm not going to speak a lot now, but I just wanted to introduce the folks that have traveled and family members and special guests that go along. Military folks will be recognized here momentarily. But the first ones I wanted to point out in the front row is my lovely and pretty wife, the love and joy of my life, the one who saved my life, Jamie Lynn Renwick. I love you, I appreciate you, and I'm so happy to be with you. And we've got son Michael Perush, currently a student at Purdue in cyber engineering, cyber security. So the folks in the industry that came here, listen up. Maybe some cybersecurity people graduating in a couple of years. It's my mom, Sharon Olson, the one who's responsible for me. So you can either shake her hand or do something depending on what your feelings are on that topic. But she ran rein on a lot of us throughout the years. So I appreciate her being here. They came from Georgia. My bonus dad, Elder James Olson, been in my life since I was 14 years old, and I appreciate him more than anybody can imagine. My brother, Tom, the one probably where I gained a little bit of my wry sense of humor and deviousness. Of course, I think he takes the cake on that one. His lovely wife, Kim, next to him, is probably nodding in agreement right now, having been married since the mid-'80s. My sister, Ann Renwick, Vardar, Ann, who traveled from Georgia as well. She bore the brunt of my brother and I's torment at times, so I appreciate her more than you can believe, and she helped shape me into the man I am today. Love you. My Uncle Denny, my dad's younger brother, and traveled from Traverse City area to be here today. Stood in when he needed to stand in, and was always there and has always been there for us and our family. And I love and appreciate you, and thank you so much for all you've done for us. And his son Kevin, who came from Ohio, Kentucky. Oh, sorry, you're on the other side of the river. All right, guards, don't escort him out. All right, the clan Renwick came from Michigan, and so Ohio, we love them, but we love beating you in football even more. So thank you for allowing us that grace this year of pounding you into the dirt on the gridiron. That was great. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the one who's not here with us today, and that's Thomas Renwick, my dad, passed when I was 13, shaped me from an early age, and imparted the love of aviation. So I know he's with us, not with us in physical sense, but with us in spirit. And there's a lot of love in this room, and he's the reason for a lot of it. So I appreciate that as well. Probably more long-winded. I would like to also recognize, and there's way too many of them to go through them all now, but I've got my folks from the Air Guard family that is here, interspersed throughout the auditorium. Every single one of them is special and great. I've also got my civilian and civilian work family, members from Raytheon, who formerly worked for, and members from Vertex, the Vertex company, who we work for now. So appreciate them. Get into some good conversation amongst each other. Maybe we can look at what we can collaborate with down the road on between the warfighter and the defense contractors who bring the great tricks and the great gizmos for the warfighters to go use in battle. So I appreciate all of them. And I would probably be remiss, and I'll talk about more later, but the national anthem that was just sung was just an amazing rendition. And I first heard the duet of Emily Simerson and retired Senior Master Sergeant Buck up at Fort Wayne at the 122nd Fighter Wing. And it wasn't announced. It's a mother-daughter duo. And I first heard their rendition years ago, and I thought when I retire, I would love to have them sing. And they blissfully and gracefully agreed to come down and do it, so I appreciate the drive. Emily, I think, still lives in Traverse City as well, so there's something in common here, and a long drive, so that's appreciated. I'll give the stage back, and done with the introduction. If I miss anybody, I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. We are pleased to welcome other distinguished guests. Brigadier General Kevin Doyle, Indiana Air National Guard Chief of Staff, and his wife, Lori. Brigadier General Lisa Snyder, Indiana Air National Guard Assistant to Defense Health Agency, DHA. Colonel Michael Stoller, 122nd Fighter Wing Commander. Command Chief Michael Dixon, 122nd Fighter Wing Command Chief. Colonel Tammy Saylor, 181st Intelligence Wing Commander. Command Chief Robert Hackett, 181st Intelligence Wing Command Chief. Major General retired Kip Clark. Major General retired Cliff Tooley. Brigadier General retired Jeff Hauser and his wife Mary. Brigadier General retired James Wilson. And Miss Renee Pack, State Representative, Indianapolis, Indiana. We would also like to welcome all other family, friends, and coworkers joining us today. It is my pleasure at this time to introduce Indiana's Adjutant General, Major General Dale Lyles.
Thank you. It's certainly my honor to be here today. And before I get started, I'd like to acknowledge the general officers and the leadership of the Air National Guard that are here today. And just as I usually do, I'd like to recognize the legacy that you left us. The legacy that you left us has enabled us and empowered us to do a multitude of things over the last 2 years that you would not believe. Everything from responding to a civil disturbance inside the state of Indiana, to responding very quickly to civil unrest inside the nation's capital, to providing aid and humanitarian efforts to Hoosiers during the pandemic that extends from food banks to prisons to Department of Corrections to COVID vaccines to testing, just to mention a few things. And then our ability to resettle 7,200 Afghan evacuees in the largest resettlement effort probably in the Midwestern history. All of those things were done very quickly, without training, and in a non-standard way, and it's at your hand that we were able to do those. So Kip Clark, General Wilson, and others who are here today that I might not be seeing, General Tooley, thank you for all of your leadership and all of the readiness that you created within the Air National Guard that enabled us to do that very quickly. And I will tell you, it is a matter of fact that we did that because of your leadership and all the things that you've done for that. So I appreciate that. I'd also like to extend a great welcome to the family that's here today, and all of that you've done, Mom, Dad, you raised a great American here, and you should be very proud of what you've done. And brothers and sister, I'm sure you toughed him up and made him what he is today as well, and I appreciate the hand that you had on him as well. And for wife and son, appreciate you guys and all the sacrifices that you've endured over 33 years of service. And there is a cyber battalion inside the Indiana National Guard, and I will tell you it's deployed right now doing offensive and defensive cyber things, and one or two of those will be gainfully employed afterwards at a salary that I won't even mention because nobody would believe it. So if you need some help getting started, come see me afterwards. I can get you going. So anyhow. So again, welcome to today's retirement ceremony, and I got to tell you, so I've been gone all week. I've been at meetings all week. 10 hours of setting and listening to things that are just incredibly not helpful because I already know most of what they're talking about because I try to stay tuned in. I get home late last night, and then I get up this morning and 5 o'clock, get ready for drill. I leave out about daylight, and I'm going down the road, and I pass a nice Ford F-150 pulling a bass boat headed to the lake near my house going fishing. Then I get down the road, there's another one that passes me, then a camper with a family, all headed to have a beautiful weekend, one of the nicest weekends of the spring this weekend, and I'm like, okay, it's the right thing to do. I got to go to drill, just drive on. Then my brother calls me and says, hey, we're teeing off at 9 o'clock. Are you in? And I'm like, huh. So here's what I will tell you. America does not defend itself, right? America does not defend itself. And the men and the women that are sitting in this room today are the men and the women that defend this country. And Pat Renwick is one of those men. For over 33 years, he has said, I will not enjoy the weekends that I should enjoy, that I will set those things aside, and that I'll be a part of an institution that sets out to preserve the democracy, the freedom, and the prosperity that all those people I passed today are enjoying right now. And those sacrifices have been deep. And they're not only what Pat has sacrificed, but what his family has sacrificed. And that deep and abiding sacrifice is the reason that our sovereign borders are secure today. It's the reason that our adversaries continue to stand away from North America. It's men like Pat Renwick that have sacrificed through 33 years of service to their country that we can live in a country, that we can enjoy a weekend like this weekend, we can raise our family, we can prosper, we can worship in a church of our choosing, and we can be free. And so what I want to say to everyone in this room is this, that there is a time of urgency and a sense of urgency about what we do today. And that sense of urgency has been demonstrated by the aggressor Russia, who has now caused incursion into a free and sovereign nation, and that is seeking to disrupt world order in a rules-based society. And because the Air National Guard and the Indiana National Guard stand strong, and we have participated in numerous state partnership programs with Eastern European countries to include Ukraine, that Russia is on its heels right now. And I hope and pray that it will continue to be on its heels as the country of Ukraine continues to seek sovereignty and freedom. Because we have a united NATO, is a large part because of what the Air National Guard has been doing in Eastern Europe for the past 20 years. Our partner Slovakia is on the edge of getting F-16s because of the great work that the 122nd Fighter Wing has been doing, as well as the help of the 181st and all the airmen associated with the multiple deployments to Eastern Europe. And all of those things are made possible by the firm and strong leadership of men like Pat Renwick. He has a hand in this deeper than any of you would probably ever know and appreciate. His leadership, his 33 years of sacrifice has made our country stronger, and it's made our Air National Guard stronger. And I can tell you, we that continue to serve need to try to serve in a way, in some small measure of what he has done over 33 years. Because there are no shortages of adversaries that continue to seek to unset world order and to push the United States below what we currently stand today. So each and every one of you in uniform, and those of you that are in defense industry and the defense sector, I appreciate all that you're doing to make our military stronger. We have got to continue to build readiness deeper than we've ever built it in history. Our adversaries are there. China is watching everything going on in Russia right now, and China is measuring our response in order that they might seek to continue to do things with Taiwan and others. North Korea is continuing to watch what we are doing and continuing to develop ballistic missiles that can carry nuclear weapons. Iran continues to aggress in the Middle East and keep Israel off balance, and there is no shortage of violent extremist organizations in our world today. So we demand, and our country deserves the strongest Air National Guard that it can get. And the men and the women that are sitting right here today are a reason because of that, either through family and the sacrifices that you've done, through the men that are serving and the women that are serving today, or through the 33 years of profound leadership that Pat Renwick has given this organization. So I ask this of each and every one of you here today. Take this time and reflect upon Pat Renwick's career and try to just be a small measure of what he has done. And in the end, we'll be okay, because we have the strongest military in the world, but more importantly, we have a will in this country that we will not tolerate an insurgent by a country like Russia or China. Because in the end, war is a conflict of wills, and the most prevailing will win the war. So I appreciate each and every one of your sacrifices. I look at continuing to serve with you. Pat, congratulations on a great 33-year run. I hope that when I retire, I can have at least a small measure of what you've done in your 33 years, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the Distinguished Service Medal. Citation to accompany the award of the Distinguished Service Medal. The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress, July 9, 1918, awards the Distinguished Service Medal to Brigadier General Patrick R. Renwick for exceptionally meritorious service and duties of great responsibility. General Renwick distinguished himself as the Chief of Staff, Air, and the Assistant Adjutant General for Air, Joint Forces Headquarters, Indiana Air National Guard, Indianapolis, Indiana, from 11 April 2018 to 17 March 2022. During this period, General Renwick's dynamic leadership and inspirational character were instrumental to organizational success at both the state and national levels. As the commander of the Indiana Air National Guard, General Renwick acted as the trusted advisor to the Adjutant General of Indiana and successfully led over 1,800 airmen at 2 wings who executed over 2,800 intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions and deployed to over 31 locations across 12 countries. General Renwick's management led to a $121 million economic impact across Indiana, which positively impacted both civilian and military lives. General Renwick was fundamental in the development of vital domestic operations capabilities, which were an enormous benefit to United States citizens during 4 national hurricane relief efforts. In support of state objectives, General Renwick directed the deployment of over 300 airmen for the coronavirus response mission, who aided over 700 healthcare facilities and distributed over 50 million meals. General Renwick also provided guidance and guaranteed success during the rapid deployment of over 600 service members and over 7 tons of cargo to the nation's capital in order to respond to civil unrest. The distinctive accomplishments of General Renwick culminate a long and distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect the highest credit upon himself, the Air National Guard, and the United States Air Force. Seated, sir. General, you may be seated. General Clark. Please remain standing. We will now continue with the retirement portion of today's ceremony. I will publish the order, sir. Attention to orders. Special Order G0M04-82201, dated 17 February 2022. Retiree Brigadier General Patrick R. Renwick, effective 17 March 2022. You are relieved from active duty. Headquarters, Indiana Air National Guard, Indianapolis, Indiana. Retirement effective 17 March 2022. In the grade of Brigadier General by order of the Secretary of the Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Major General Clark will now present the retirement certificate. I already did that. Thank you, Major General Clark. You may now be seated. Mrs. Jamie Renwick, please come forward and join us on stage.
Didn't probably realize this was going to happen, did you? Full of surprises.
Every retiree receives a special retirement pin as a memento of their service. At this time, I'd like to ask you to place this pin on your husband's lapel to symbolize his transition to retired status. Mrs. Renwick, please remain on stage.
You're not going anywhere.
She whispered that she hates me. I don't think. It might be true. I don't know.
Could be.
At this time, it is appropriate that we honor Mrs. Renwick for her years of devotion and support. Major General Lyles will present Mrs. Renwick with the Air Force Certificate of Appreciation. The certificate reads, "In grateful appreciation, the United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Jamie L. Renwick for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service, given the 5th day of March 2022, signed General Charles Q. Brown, Chief of Staff, United States Air Force." Major General Lyles will now present the Legion of Hoosier Hero and Heroine Award. The certificate reads, "Legion of Hoosier Hero and Legion of Hoosier Heroine, be it known by those present that Brigadier General Patrick R. Renwick and Master Sergeant Jamie L. Renwick are hereby and forevermore distinguished by their appointment to the General Staff of the Legion of Hoosier Heroes and Heroines, organizations designed to accept members of highest qualifications only. A member may be recognized by his heroic stature as a gentleman or by her heroic stature as a lady, and by their support of the principles of military science and fidelity to good government, all in accordance with the finest traditions of the great state of Indiana, in testimony whereof I have caused these letters to be patent, and the seal of the Hoosier Hero and Heroine to be hereunto affixed, done at Indianapolis, Indiana, the 5th day of March in the year of our Lord 2022. Dale Lyles, Major General, the Adjutant General of Indiana." General Renwick will now present flowers and a gift to Mrs. Renwick to thank her for her years of love and support throughout his military career.
I'll probably say more about Jamie later, and know that I'll probably forget some things I should have said, and that she knows how much she means to me. She knows how much her service has meant to this country, as well as our marriage has meant to many. So I truly appreciate you. I love you more than life itself. You're the reason why I'm still here. And I truly, this is a small token. This is just flowers. Love you too. But I also wanted to give, one, everybody knows that in the military, the raw metallic objects or coins are kind of a big deal. Well, the State Command Chief May and myself came up with our own design. You mostly designed, I just kind of looked at it. On something that represented a gift from both of us, or an award from both of us to people who are truly deserving and airmen who are truly deserving. And it represents both wings, it represents the entire state, and I wanted to present that to Jamie Lynn today. Although I think I already gave you one. I wanted to do it in front of people so I could talk about you and say what great things that you've done. So, everybody knows that the A-10's got a massive 7-barreled 30-millimeter Gatling gun that shoots 3,900 rounds per minute. If you squeeze the trigger for a full load of 1,174 rounds, you'd have 17 seconds of trigger squeeze, but the gun barrels would melt, so you might not get that many. But this is a shell casing from my Finney flight. Actually, no, not Finney flight. The last time I shot the gun in the A-10, the Jefferson Proving Grounds in 2018. I was given this as a memento. It's demilled, so anybody out there? It's demilled. And so we always talk a lot about my other mistress, the A-10, my Hoglet, and she asked me when the whole Ukrainian thing kicked off of what me and my friends could go do with a 4-ship of Hoglets. And since we're on Facebook Live, I won't talk about that right now. But I wanted to give this to you because She always asks me what noise does the gun make? Which one? Brr. That's the sound of putting on and escort off the stage.
Thank you, Mrs. Renwick. You may now be seated, ma'am. Major General Lyles, sir. Major General Lyles will now present the Presidential Certificate. Citation to accompany the Presidential Certificate. Certificate of Appreciation for Service in the Armed Forces of the United States of America, Brigadier General Patrick R. Renwick. I extend my personal gratitude and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation to you and your patriotic service to our country. Your bravery and dedication in our armed forces helped protect your fellow Americans during a critical moment in our history and contributed to a world of greater security and growing prosperity. Your devotion to duty, honor, and country, in keeping with the long traditions of the finest military in the world, embodied the American ideal of selfless service. Our nation owes you an incredible debt. Your commitment and the example you set will inspire the future generations to serve with pride and to keep our country secure. You represent the best of our nation, and I join our fellow Americans in saluting you in your honorable service. I wish you happiness and success in your next chapter. Signed, Joe R. Biden, Jr., Commander-in-Chief. Major General Clark, will you come forward at this time, sir, and present General Renwick with the Sagamore of the Wabash. The certificate reads, let me get a drink of water for this one. If you've ever heard it, I'm going to need a drink of water. Know all men by these presents, whereas the greatness of the sons of Indiana derives in part from qualities possessed by the noble chieftains of the Indian tribes which once roamed its domain, and whereas it has been the immemorial custom of the state of Indiana to attract to its support those who have exhibited such qualities, and whereas there has endeared himself to the citizens of Indiana one Brigadier General Patrick R. Renwick, distinguished by his humanity in living, his loyalty and friendship, his wisdom in counsel, and his inspiration in leadership. Now, therefore, recognizing his greatness and deserving to all avail myself of his counsel, I do hereby appoint him a chieftain upon my staff with the rank and title of Sagamore of the Wabash. Witness my hand and the seal of the Council of the Sagamores and at Indianapolis, Indiana, this the 23rd day of February in the year of our Lord 2022. Signed, Eric J. Holcomb, Governor of the state of Indiana. Major General Clark will at this time present General Renwick with the Governor's Letter of Appreciation. The certificate reads, Dear Brigadier General Patrick R. Renwick, on behalf of the state of Indiana and as a veteran myself, it is a privilege to extend my deep appreciation for your 33 years of dedicated service to the Indiana National Guard. I and all Hoosiers appreciate the price you and your family have paid to defend our country and the freedom for which it stands. There is no one to whom we owe more respect, regard, and thanks than people like you who give up themselves to serve and protect American lives. Your patriotism reflects the very core and foundation of America. Please accept my sincere congratulations on your retirement. You have certainly been a tremendous asset to the Indiana Air National Guard. I wish you well in your future endeavors. Sincerely, Eric Holcomb, Governor of the state of Indiana. General Clark would also like to present General Renwick with a United States flag and an Indiana state flag. The accompanying certificate states the state flag was flown at the Indiana State Capitol building on November 2nd, 2022.
All right. Root Dog, you can sit down.
Yes, sir.
It's great being here today. I'm going to go back in history to when Root Dog, General Renwick, showed up at the 181st. Can you guys hear me okay if I stand here? All right. So, Southern Watch, was that 99? 97. We stole Root Dog off the active duty, and we brought him to the 181st. And fly F-16s with us, so I left the A-10 and came to the 181st, flew F-16. And so I've been in the unit for a while. I started and enlisted there, and I've been there a long time, so a lot of folks around the base were familiar with me. And shortly after Root Dog showed up, I had more than one person outside of the flight line and the ops building say, hey, who's that arrogant active duty guy that's heading? I'm like, arrogant active duty guy? I don't know who you're talking about. You know, he's a new pilot. You know, well, pilots in general are usually arrogant anyway, so go ahead and narrow it down. No, he's an active duty guy. He's got a big mustache. Oh, Root Dog. Well, that guy seems kind of arrogant. I'm like, well, you don't know that guy. Because if there's one thing Root Dog is not, is arrogant. But when he first showed up on base, Captain Renwick, with the big mustache, I think he was just like taking in everything and not saying a whole lot. So we dispelled the myth of Root Dog being standoffish and arrogant, and we got to know him, and it was great serving with him for many years. The one thing I want to talk about, though, is being a wingman. You know, in the Air Force, to educate everybody, we talk about leaders, we talk about being a wingman, a good wingman. Well, for the folks in the room that are wearing a flight suit or have worn a flight suit, we talk about that a lot in the fighter squadron. You know, well, that guy's a good wingman. Well, to explain what a wingman is, just real quick, the most basic thing that we learn when we're going through pilot training, when in the formation phase, one of the first things we learn is being a good wingman, and the position that we learn to fly first is close. And when you fly close, you have 3 feet wingtip separation. That's pretty close. And when they start teaching you, they're like, sure you want me to be that close to that guy? Yeah, we're going to get that close. And so throughout our careers, sometimes as wingmen, we have to fly close. And that may be in an F-16 at 350 knots in the weather, and you're so close and the weather's so bad that you can see the wingtip, but maybe not the rest of the airplane. But as a flight lead, you look out there, and the wingman's there. That's where they're supposed to be. And in a fighter squadron, probably one of the most important praise you could give to someone in the fighter squadron, the guy's a good wingman. Good wingman. You know, Joe Schmuckatelli, you know, that guy kind of drifts off, and you never know where he's at. But when you tell somebody that is a good wingman, that is like a really big compliment. So that's the practical application of being a wingman and where that came from in the Air Force. We fly airplanes. And we talk about being a wingman. And as you may imagine, we talk about it more than just flying airplanes. We talk about it in your daily business. Now, if you look at Root Dog's resume, it's easy to see he's a phenomenal leader. I mean, leaders a lot of times have command positions, you know, they hold certain rank or positions, you know, that's a leader, and it's obvious from standing back and looking, well, yeah, that person was a wing commander, so yeah, he must be a pretty good leader. But you don't always feel, unless you're in it, the importance of a wingman. You're not a moniker. You're not in the wingman upgrade program. You're always going to be a wingman, no matter what you do. Be a good one. And that's what Root Dog is. Obviously, he's a great leader, but working with him for all these years and being around him, around him. Teammate, wingman, hey, I need this done, Root Dog's got it done. Or, hey, this is a tough assignment. We're going on this deployment, or we're flying this combat mission. Root Dog is that wingman, that leader that you want to be there. So thanks, Root Dog. It's been great. You're a great fighter pilot, great friend, and fantastic airman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General Clark. Colonel Matthew Brown will at this time present General Renwick with a gift from the 207th Weather Flight and State Headquarters.
So Major Marriott and I have the great opportunity, privilege to represent the state headquarters. So for those that don't know, there's a wing up in Fort Wayne, a wing in Terre Haute, and then there's a small staff here in Indianapolis at the headquarters. It's about 30 folks, right? So what we've appreciated about General Renwick is his tenacity to get things right, to follow the regulation, and for those of you that know him and have served with him, you better know what that regulation is when you go in and talk to him, right? So my first experience with his director of staff was when I first got up there, I had General Clark as the commander, and you go in General Clark's office and you kind of sit down and you tell him what's going on, what you need, and he'll do the, well, Matthew, this is what I think you ought to do. You ought to go look at whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just a nice southern way of doing it. My first experience with General Renwick didn't go quite the same way. I go in to brief him on something, ask him a question, and within minutes, he had me buried and his freakishly large foot on my back, telling me about how I need to go check this regulation, this regulation, this regulation. And what that did for us, both Kelly and I, we spend a lot of time sending the boss information and forms and stuff to sign. What that did for us is we knew we had to get it right, because if we didn't get it right, then he was going to push it back and make us get it right. And that's what we've always admired about him, is that ability to push us to the point where we're better airmen, we're better officers, and certainly better staff because of him. So we have a little gift here. Kelly did all the work on it, so I'm going to let her read it real quick because I don't have that good eyes.
Well, I'm not going to read the Constitution, but it says, presented to Brigadier General Patrick R. Renwick, an appreciation, sir, for 33 years of outstanding service and leadership to the Indiana Air National Guard, given in sincere gratitude from Indiana Air National Guard Headquarters. So every drill, roll call meeting, General Renwick would quote something from the U.S. Constitution, so we know it was near and dear to his heart, sir. So we've got you a case here.
That is amazing.
With the preamble.
Amazing. So through the form, I've got to perform a duty here, because someone's brought something to me I need to make sure of.
Just, oh, take it out of it. To make sure that it wouldn't fall out.
Okay.
Did we do good?
You did well. I'm going to let you put that back in.
Thanks.
Command Chief Dixon and Command Chief Hackett, please join me on stage to present General Renwick a gift from the Command Chiefs representing the enlisted force of the Indiana Air National Guard. We're going to surround you.
Oh, no. Surrounded by chiefs, I can't think of a better place to be.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. This is making me nervous now.
Well, we're here to support him because he's always been here to support us, right? So we've talked about today from Major General Clark, Major General Lyles about General Renwick being a fantastic leader, and he is. He's exactly that. And he's a brother. And he has made it known to us that the enlisted force is of paramount importance to him every single day. No matter what type of meeting we're in, no matter what we're doing, whether it's a tactical meeting about tactical decisions, all the way to strategic decisions, it doesn't make a difference what kind of conversation we're in, private, public. The first thing that he talks about is how does this affect our people? How is this decision going to affect our enlisted force and our people. He's always taking care of us and making sure that we understand where his mind is about the enlisted force and his people, and we convey that out in a very genuine, heartfelt manner. So I just want you to know that, sir. They're going to continue to talk from the wings. I'm going to get you something here. Go ahead.
Well, I was there in 2010 when he arrived. He may have been a little arrogant, yeah. But rightfully so. I told everybody he wasn't arrogant, he was smart as hell. And he knew what he was doing. So we appreciate you back then, we appreciate you now. We always will.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you also. And the enlisted force in the Indiana Air Guard. You guys have done an outstanding job making sure that I'm well informed and making sure that it's a chief's solemn duty, especially a command chief, to advise the commander on things that are of key importance to the enlisted force. Sometimes that can come in one of several ways. One way is coming in or walking around and just talking about the force, talking about what's happening. Another way can be when the chief comes into your office with a cup of coffee and just to have a discussion and just talk. Another way, and you better listen when this happens, is the chief walks in your office door, shuts the door behind him, and say, "Sir, you got a moment?" You always have a moment when that happens, because you need to listen, and you need to listen up. And it's generally something about that you're doing that isn't quite right, or isn't quite in tune with what needs to happen with the force. There's been several times throughout my career where I was basically put in a headlock by a chief master sergeant or a senior enlisted who has taught me to be a better leader, a better steward, and with more empathy along the way. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, so I got to know you when you came back and rejoined the fight with the Hawk.
Yes.
So, yeah, great time. You set us up for great success as we went into a very difficult mission, Afghanistan, and then set up a base in Kuwait. I really appreciate one thing about you. Many things.
One's okay, that's one thing, right?
One thing in particular is every time we have a conversation or a meeting, you close it with something about how do we bring this to the collective of the Indiana Air National Guard, and to bring the units together, to bring the wing together and the state together. And I think that's a message that we can continue to carry forward as command chiefs, and I think that's a legacy that you're leaving with us. So very much appreciate it, sir.
Thank you. That's pretty heavy. Good thing I ate my Wheaties this morning.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Wait, hold up a second. I'll be right back.
This is not on script, but he's a general, so you guys hang tight.
All right, you may have gotten one of these already, but you haven't got it from me. But again, it's one of my coins. I truly appreciate everything that you're doing. Keep it up.
Colonel Stoller will at this time present General Renwick with a gift from the 122nd Fighter Wing.
You went away again.
He lost him.
It's his day.
Yeah.
It's his day. All right, so I'm gonna say what everybody wants to say, that your mustache looks much better than Chief's. Just lay that
I was just going to give him a compliment for
It was in your honor, sir.
Yeah, I know.
And his looks much better than mine.
Well, it's Mustache March. He only started it 2 days ago.
This is true. I just want to say from me personally, sir, you were one of the better wing commanders I've ever worked for. I've worked for a lot. The mentoring process that you passed on to me, though, I'm hopeful that I was able to take some of that and continue on those good traits. I will tell you, if you recall the first mentoring thing that we got to do together, and General, you would appreciate this. General Umbarger got a call from the director of the Air National Guard thanking him for Stoley volunteering to go on a combat deployment and lead the contingent to Kuwait.
Yeah.
And we got to drive down and explain to General Umbarger why he learned from the director of the Air National Guard instead of us. And I'm pretty sure on the drive down I was filling out the Truckmaster application.
Yeah, I think I shared the number with you on the text, yeah.
How to do that, but that all turned out well, and here we are today. But from the men and women of the 122nd, we just want to extend our great appreciation for your service to the country, the state of Indiana, and more importantly for us near and dear to home, the Black Snakes at Fort Wayne. As you know, we painted a jet this last year, black. And the cool thing about this is on one side of the tail we put the 122nd Fighter Wing, and on the other side we put the racers of the 181st. And it was to commemorate 100 years of aviation service in Indiana, and we just thought it would be fitting for you to have a picture of that.
No, it's great. Thank you so much. That's amazing. That jet looks beautiful, by the way.
And that's a hopper.
Hopper photo?
Hopper photo.
Okay, this is gonna be award winning someday.
Yeah.
Probably already is. Gonna trade me here. I'm gonna give Colonel Stoller the coin from Chief May and myself as well. Thank you for everything you do at the 122nd.
Colonel Saylor and Chief Hackett will at this time present General Renwick with a gift from the 181st Intelligence Wing.
I want him to hold this. My goal is to stand up here and talk as long as I possibly can while the chief holds this, because you thought the other was heavy. This thing weighs maybe 40 pounds or so. So I'm going to spend probably the next 30 minutes standing there, at least until he's on his knees.
I'll help you. That's what we do. It's teamwork.
But seriously, sir, on behalf of the men and women at the 181st, the racers, and that, we thank you for all of your leadership, your guidance, the time you spent at the wing, and all that. I was there in 1988 when you showed up, and I'll attest that he was not just a little arrogant, he was a whole lot arrogant. But seriously, I've enjoyed every minute of it. He's always been a challenge. I'm a bit of a regulation person myself, so there are many times that we've sparred back and forth over what the true meaning of the regulation was, or which reg may have contained this information or whatever, but I've appreciated everything that you've done for me throughout my career. You've been a great mentor to me, and you've been a great mentor to the airmen. General Clark talked about the Wingman Concept and what that means. And just a little story at a roll call when General Renwick was Vice Wing Commander at the 181st. He comes in and he starts this conversation about what it means to be a good wingman. And he goes on and he talks a little bit about the story and everything else. And then he ends it with, he may or may not have been left high and dry in the restroom, and his wingman didn't leave him a roll of toilet paper. but it was a nice, I mean, it was in there going about being a wingman and all that, and then he ended with...
It was also about making sure you pre-flight accordingly. I noticed before there was a need.
And sir, seriously, thanks for everything you've done for me and for the racers at the 181st. And this flag was made by one of our airmen, not on airman time, but in time, just to get that on the record.
Thank you for Facebook Live.
But hopefully you enjoy flying that at home while you're
This is amazing. It is extremely heavy.
Yeah. And hopefully you got a wall strong enough to support it.
I think so.
But thank you very much.
Hang on just a second.
No, Hack, you gotta hold it up there.
Gotta hold it up here.
No,
I also give Colonel Saylor one of our command coins from Command Chief May and myself. So thank you very much for everything you've done at the 181st and for the state.
Brigadier General Doyle, please join me on stage, sir, to present General Renwick with a gift.
Afternoon, everybody. Brigadier General Doyle, go by Buzz. A lot of things have been said about General Renwick, also known as Rude Dog. I've known him since back in that 97 period of time. during that deployment to Southern Watch. Both captains at the same time. Started off as acquaintances, became, I would say, peers. Along the way, we became friends. I worked with and for the boss here over that period of time when he joined in 1997 and made it to us in 1998, I should say, as far as the racers over in Terre Haute. Me and the chief, in our final position here as far as before the boss's retirement today, wanted to present something specific and special from us, but special to the Guard and a Guardsman in general. And it's a personal gift from us as working for you, that close relationship and also the friendship we've had over time. And I'll let Chief finish off here in a second. But what you're going to see here, and I'll let the Chief, as referenced here, our militia force does the heavy lifting, so I'm going to let him continue to do that over there until we hand it off. But the Minuteman, all right? The Minuteman carries a lot of weight for whether you're a soldier or an airman through that, and it exemplifies what we are and what we try to do and what we see as our task and our responsibilities to defend the country and our state and the citizens that live within those borders. The Minuteman is standing ready to drop what they do in their civilian job, their status, their families, or whatever it takes to stand up when needed and defend the country and our state and the citizens. So with that, as you can see, we have the Minuteman standing by the plow, and he's carrying a musket in his right hand, ready to go and at a moment's notice. Outside of that, we'll let Chief finish up here on that one, but just to pass a couple things for me and the boss and our relationship throughout the years is overarching just friendship. As Major Marietta mentioned, that the boss would start off meetings, the few that I got to sit in, and always want to pass some things. He also is known for using big words on trying to educate us on what those are. So I'm in the process of stealing one of his favorite words as far as example, and I want to stop here shortly, which is bloviate. I don't know if I said it right. I sure as heck can't spell it, but I think talking too much and saying something that's probably not useful might be part of what that means. But the useful part out of this is going back to 1997, meeting him, him transitioned in 98, working together, flying F-16s together. Like I said, we worked together. He went over to maintenance about the same time I was getting command as the Ops Support Flight Commander at the 181st down in Terre Haute. Spent 18 years down there. Myself, I left, went to Fort Wayne in 2006 as the wing transitioned to a new mission. The reason I left there was because it was obvious that I was not going to do what I wanted to do there, which was actually stay and take over the 113th ASOS, which was the new mission down there. I thought maybe my background as an infantry guy might set me up for success to do that, but when you got a guy like Rudog, who was a jump BALO, battalion ALO, on active duty, he was the perfect guy to take the TACP and that organization into the future and set it up for success. So seeing that was a dead end for me, I decided to go and continue flying airplanes. And little did I know that not that much longer after that, it took a while, but he ended up joining us up at the 122nd Fort Wayne to be the wing commander. So going from peer to a subordinate, but working with him and having that relationship really helped out with him as the wing commander and me as the chief of safety at the time. So I really appreciate that. Also, when I left, I got the honor of, during your Finney flight, getting to come back in an F-16 from Toledo, Ohio, to fly his last flight in A-10 and do a little dogfight in BFM out at Hilltop and MOA. And I think you might have won on that one, but I didn't give myself afterburner, and I kept the tanks and didn't jettison over there.
You're carrying two tanks, and you don't go to burner, and A-10's got a fighting chance on that one. By the way, one of those pictures is in your program of us coming off the tanker, going like this. He's in the F-16, I'm in the A-10.
So that was an honor for me to be able to do that, and then to come back and have the opportunity to work for the boss again for the last couple of years. Got here in 19, and just proud to have served and finish out with him as he rounds out his career after 33 years. But with that, I will take the heavy lifting for right now, and I'll let the chief wrap up. Thanks, boss. I appreciate it. Thank you for your friendship.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, I met General Renwick when I was the wing first sergeant at the 181st for General Clark put me in that position. Thank you, sir. I think. And you were the vice. We started working together at that time. got to know one another, got to sync up, got to really start working very well with one another. And like General Doyle said, moved on down to be the commander of 122nd. Years passed, I became chief, worked at MSG, put in for the command chief position 122nd, got grilled by this guy, finally got the job, and I want to thank you for that opportunity, sir, very much. Talk about that later. And then from there, he went up to the state, and then General Clark brought me up to the state as well, and then we've been working together ever since. So it's been a very, very emotional time for me. We get along very well. We work very, very, very well together. We can end each other's sentences and look at each other, and we know exactly what the other person's thinking. That's not a good thing most of the time. But it's a great opportunity to sit here and tell you a story about General Renwick. You mentioned that I can say something, so I'm going to. However, since we're on Facebook Live, there's only one story I can tell. The others, we might just have to talk about that over there and after the thing's over. But we were going over to do an SPP visit to Niger, and he flew out from India. I flew out of Nashville. We finally got to, I think it was Paris, and I'm sitting on the plane getting ready to fly to Niger, waiting on my boss. Texting, where are you, sir? And he said, I'm going through customs, doing all this kind of stuff. He gets to the gate, trying to get in. They shut the door, and he can't get in because he spent too much time, I guess, at the gift store trying to find something for his wife, as he's always doing. So he probably lost time, which is another reason. This is a Minuteman, so we're going to talk about time management, sir.
Or my flight from the United States to Paris was delayed by like 6 hours.
We're not going to talk about that. This is funnier. He could have got there, in my opinion, I think he could have got there.
I could have ran faster.
Right. And so he finally gets there later on after we do, and we find out that he had to take Air Algiers. Well, while I'm sitting here on a nice flight, eating, whatever I wanted, having a good time, sleeping, he's probably, from what I understand, cooped up in a fetal position, worried for his life, and trying to figure out how he's going to get there, and all about bad time management. That's what the Minuteman is for.
Okay.
And I'm trying to say this is a
Root cause analysis.
This is what the chief and commander do all the time. So we get there. I think the funniest part about it, though, is when we get there, he's finally there. They lose his luggage. And we were there for 5 days, didn't have any luggage. They didn't know when he was going to get there. So he had to go. They took you to go get some clothes at the shop down the road, which was a tent, on the side of the road, in the sand. And he had just some stuff and some unmentionables that he was able to purchase and wear for the rest of the time there. And we were seeing the Chad, Mott, and all these individuals.
Chancellor of Defense, Minister of Defense, the ambassador's dinner, traveling around everywhere. Folks thought that I was their security because I had an embassy polo.
And that mustache.
This mustache. And a tack ball cap the entire time. So they thought that I was the escort and the security for them, which was not too far off.
Right. So we had a great time. It was a good time. Just one of the kind of situations that we worked together, talk about a wingman, just being there for one another and a great leader. A lot of times, it's just he and I trying to late night phone calls, especially during COVID. Can't get a hold of one another physically like this, so we're making a lot of phone calls when we get in touch with one another. Great friend. I just wanted to point that out, and I just can't imagine having not worked with you and for you and just being that for you. I do have another personal gift for you. But speaking of losing luggage, I didn't want to lose it on the airplane coming here, so I'll give it to you down in Tennessee at some point in time.
No, this is awesome. Jamie and I just bought property down in Tennessee because we love it so much down there. Eventually we'll retire down there. Chief May and Mandy, his wife, live just outside of Nashville. As soon as I don't know what it was, as soon as we bought property in Tennessee, him and Mandy moved to Florida. But now they've come to their senses and they've moved back to Tennessee, and we're going to be, about an hour apart from where we are, where I'm eventually going to land. So, what Chief May failed to mention on that is the rickety airplane which I got to fly from Paris to Algiers. The time time I spent in Algiers looking over my shoulder, not knowing if I was about to get ambushed. And the lady who met us at the plane, who confiscated our passports on the pretense of walking us through the entire place and quickly disappeared. So that was a fun time. And then flying over the Maghreb and the Sahara in the middle of the night in a plane that, if I'd have seen it during daylight, I may not have gotten into. And then the airport that we went to go fly to the east in Niger to go do some real business, when we were walking out to the aircraft that was going to take us, which was flown by shaggy people in polos and corduroys, or polos and khakis, probably special forces dudes. Might be. But the airplane next to it was upside down. Oh. We have pictures. So Chief and I looked at each other and goes, yeah, that's the way it's worked with us the entire time. Yeah, let's go. Let's go do it. What General Droll didn't tell you is that a lot of times where we were always of one mind, we always looked at things sometimes differently in ways of accomplishment. And it was a sport for people to walk between us when we were doing duty and then throw a regulation or something at us as a problem and watch us fight. Because we were generally in violent agreements, going to the same end, but looking at how we were going to make that happen. So I really appreciate you coming back to the state of Indiana from Ohio and everything that you've done for this state as well, and everything you've done for Indiana International Guard. Both of you, I appreciate you. Thank you. Chief, you wrecked my name tag.
I'm here for you, sir. All right.
Excuse me while
At this time, Brigadier General Renwick would like to play a short video.
It's a slow walk. It'll be okay. This video comes from the United States Air Force Professional Airman Center of Excellence, or PACE. It denotes a heritage that we have, and it's appropriately titled the Flyboys for Air Force Born to Fly. I thought it was appropriate today it will shorten the length of my talk with what is going on the screen today, and it shows a good course of events, and I love it. Thank you.
It's been said that if mankind were meant to fly, we would have been born with wings. Maybe so. But some of us were born to do nothing else. Whether we're sitting behind the stick, calling the shots from the back, or in the belly of the plane with a finger on the button, we make sure the U.S. Air Force is without equal. If that sounds like bragging, it is. Every time we put on that flight suit, we join a long line of heroes with names like Doolittle, Bowles, and Sigel. We fought over the hills of Saint Miguel in France, and over the sands of Iraq. During the Cold War, we flew around the clock carrying nuclear warheads, prepared to do the unthinkable if we had to. We've broken every barrier put before us, and we'll keep breaking them. We owe it to our crew and all the airmen who bust their tails to keep ours flying. It's up to us to keep this legacy alive, to pass it on to the next generation of pilots so they can pass it on to that kid looking up right now, dreaming of their turn to defend these skies. The day they pinned those wings on our uniform was one of the proudest days of our lives. Then we broke them in half and gave a piece to someone we love. Because when your job is responding to threats around the world, it means you're usually somewhere other than home. So when we are, we make it count. all the same. It's obvious they've never walked a flight line. We're as different as the birds we fly. Bombers, fighters, the heavies, even planes without a cockpit. We take pride in that, and we make sure to let each other know it every chance we get. But make no mistake, we're all brothers and sisters, wingmen till the end. In a fight, we have each other's back, or else we're not coming home. So if you see us walk around base with our sleeves rolled up, acting like we're invincible, that kind of confidence comes with the job. We put our lives on the line defending our freedoms, testing new aircraft, and training new pilots. We turn everyday citizens into our nation's sword and shield. We've logged more flight hours than we can count and paid the price to be the best. Because of that training, because of the bond we share, because of the battles we fought, this Air Force is second to none. Up there, we don't fear anything. Fear is what we instill in the enemy every time we're wheels up. No, we weren't born with wings, but we sure as hell earn them every single day. Aim high, Airman.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I present to you Brigadier General, retired Patrick R. Renwick.
Well, people that know me the closest know that I'm a man of few words. So I know we're over time, and I'll keep this as quick as I possibly can, but after building to this event over the course of the last several decades, I have a few words to say. And one of them is, first, again, and always, thanks to my family. Thanks for being there. Thanks for being that backstop when necessary, and that boot when necessary as well. Truly, truly appreciated everything that you've done. There will be no, really, no flag officer retirement without, I would say, imparting a little bit of wisdom and a little bit of thought, and hopefully you'll take it as it goes. But it's to be said that you will never succeed without a good family. That's the bottom line. I made a joke earlier, and I'm going to repeat it now, that most people, I figured, especially the ones in uniform, showed up today just to make sure I was actually retiring. And that I was going to the next level. But I got to tell you, I truly do stand here today at a kind of a loss for words, which is a real challenge at times. First, again, I always thank you to the team who helped make this happen. Just like anything in the Air Force, nothing happens without the good team, and this team is outstanding, and I love you all, and thank you for all that you've done. The folks who specifically helped put this together, come out on the stage. No, you guys, back here. Come on, you two as well. Emily. Two chaplains. Kelly. Well, she was back. Where's Kelly? All right. Stand up here. Give me about half a dozen of these things. I truly appreciate all you've done to set this up. I know it's not an easy task, and I know sometimes I'm not an easy general to wrangle. So I truly appreciate all you've done. So from me to you, thank you. Everybody here has helped. Thank you, General Lyles, for those kind words and everything you said, which is extremely true today. And I was struck when Buzz was talking about the Minuteman and what you were talking about in Ukraine and what's going on right now. It's not lost on me that I started my military career in the throes of the Cold War, went into a time of what most people perceived as relative peace for some time. I will tell you that we've been a nation at war since 1991, when we first started that armed conflict and going through 9/11. And I find ourselves now on the verge of another potential great power competition and another Cold War, if not obviously a hot war that's going on in Ukraine. So with the citizen soldier and airman that you just saw on the pedestal with the Minuteman, that's what's happening in Europe right now, with people taking up arms to repel an armed invader, not unlike what happened during our own Revolutionary War when we took up arms against an invader and stood up for freedom. So my heart goes out to everyone who's serving in Ukraine, the people there, and may God bless them and be with them as they go through this trial and tribulation. Thank you to the chaplains who are here as well and given the great invocation and the benediction to follow. I appreciate you traveling and making this happen. General Clark, we've been around each other a long time. I really am grateful that you didn't tell some of the stories that could have been told. May have been a toga party in Okinawa. But anyway, that's for another day and another time. But we go way back. We've flown in combat together multiple times, and we've had each other's back. And the wingman that you talked about that's General Clark as well, who truly empowers all the leaders that he serves with, and it's amazing. I played the video, or had the video played today, because I think it really rolled into a lot of things that go into being a fighter pilot and a military member. And I got to say, I'm humbled and honored to have been able to serve for well over 30 years in uniform and help become the person that was aspired to as a little child, and what my family wanted as well. So an opportunity to serve for a long lifetime. I will tell you that the opportunities that were given to me in the Air Force far outweigh the service that I gave to it as an institution. I wouldn't be where I am today, both professionally and personally, without the Air Force helping guide my way and the Air National Guard helping guide my way. There's been a few trials and tribulations along the way, as my mom can probably attest to. Back to the video, looking at it, it really struck me that those two little kids running around with airplanes really reminded me of my brother and myself when we were children, and my mom having to wrangle us as we did our thing. I will say that we too made model airplanes, much like a lot of people in the room. We took it to the next level, though. You saw the ones up on the wire hanging from the ceiling. Tom and I took them. We wanted to make sure they could really fly, so we put fishing line on them and swung them around. Sometimes we'd release them into the wall. Sometimes we would launch them with firecrackers already in them and watch them explode if we were done with that one. Okay, so I'm glad that didn't equate into my aviation career, but I will tell you, I've been inspired with the love of aviation from an early age. My dad first started taking us flying when I was 4 or 5 years old in a Piper, probably a P-140 or something like that a lot of folks in here learned to fly in. I remember him taking us up flying. I remember specifically one instance where we flew out to the family farm in Corona, Michigan, and there was as there was at the farm, there was always activity that was happening. And we started circling around. I think, Tom, you may have been in the airplane as well, but we're circling around, watching everyone down on the farm, either playing baseball or having a picnic, and they were watching us up in the air. And I told Dad, I said, I want to say hi. He said, well, they don't have a radio down there, Pat. I said, well, okay, well, how can I? Well, can I write something on a piece of paper and we can throw it out to tell them that we're up here and that we're watching them? He goes, well, Pat, if you throw the piece of paper out, it's just going to flutter away and you're not going to see it. He goes, well, just like any young child at that age, I had a big old rock in my pocket, and I said, hey, how about I write this on a rock? And I throw it out. And Dad said, no, that's probably not a good idea either. And I think, that was my first aborted bombing mission that I had. So he imparted the love of aviation into me, and I truly am blessed to have had that time. Also, one key event, I don't probably guess the age of the folks in the room here. In 1969, when Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, it was again a pivotal event in the 60s, and a pivotal event for technology across the board. And I remember as a 6-year-old boy, when he made that walk, we gathered as a family and friends at somebody who had a TV set back in the day that could get it, and had one of those big giant antennas, out in the back with a big old tripod going up like 40 feet in the air, where you would move the antenna to where the signal was. And I remember watching it and just being amazed at what was going on and the technology and walking on the moon. And I leaned over to my brother, Tom, and I said, hey, Tom, I think I'd want to do something like that someday. I think flying is what's for me. And he looked at me and said, no, Pat, he said, it's dangerous up there. You got to stay right here on the ground where it's safe. So I proceeded at that time, after it was all done, and they were having the picnic afterwards, that big old TV tower that I just talked about, I started scaling it and climbing up to the top, because in my mind, my 6-year-old mind, I was getting closer to the moon than where the action was. And then, of course, my mom, when she saw that, really expressed her desire for me to get down safely. And bite her, she bit her tongue at the same time, yes. So just that to say that you don't have a career in aviation, and you don't have a career in the military without people who helped you along the way. And for the folks that couldn't be here that helped me, that were mentors, taught me how to be an aggressive, punk, arrogant lieutenant captain to roll into a more confident senior officer. I thank you for that, and the mentors that I've had along the way that have done that. So the message that we just saw was inspirational. I can't say a lot more than that. When it talked about breaking the wings, that's a tradition well held in the military and especially Air Force aviation. And what they didn't go into in the video is that breaking of the wings is you receive your wings. The first wings you get, the first thing you do after you get them, and Annie, you were there, you saw it, is you break them in half. And you give one half to somebody that you love to keep, and you keep the other half for yourself. And the reason you do that is you break your wings on the ground, not flying, to stop yourself from breaking your wings in action or in flight and having a mishap. Or is this a tradition, it's a suspicion, call it what it is. But everyone does it. It's been a tradition since we've been in Air Force probably, to break your wings on the ground so you don't break them in the air. So I wanted to say thanks again to all those who helped along the career, and especially those who broke their wings a second time. And to our brothers and sisters who've given their full measure, too many to name. Nickel on the grass for you. You need to be confident, you need to train hard, and quite frankly, sometimes you need to be lucky. And I was asked as a young lieutenant, would you rather be lucky or good? And I was thinking, well, gosh, that's not really a good choice here, right? And I raised my hand and said, I would rather be good, because luck is arbitrary. And I was quickly corrected by my squadron commander, fighter pilot, Vietnam veteran, who told me quickly that, Rude Dog, you have to be good. That's what's expected. That's what is expected in the profession of arms. You have to be good. You have to train. You have to do what the right thing is. Luck is there for when good is not good enough, and when circumstances go out of your control. And I think everyone of here who's flown a combat sortie or been in aviation or in the military have known that there's been times when the luck is what's gotten you out of that situation that you're in that maybe you wouldn't have come home. So it is better to be lucky than good. Train. little bit, just to piggyback on what Kip was talking about, I'm going to get lighter here, I promise. Again, no flag officer retirement without imparting a little bit of wisdom. And I want to talk about a little bit about leadership and followership and follow up on what Kip had said on that. You don't become a good leader without being a good follower and thinking about the people who you are blessed to follow. I've thought a lot about the career I've heard people talk about leadership styles, what they do, situational leadership, servant leadership, everything else along the way. And I kind of strayed away from what you would call a leadership style, because that denotes to me styles that go in and out. You know, big baggy bottoms were in style when I was in high school, right? With the big suede pants, and now they're coming back in again. Styles go in and styles go out. Don't let your leadership be about what style is popular at the time or what you think is going to get you to where you need to be. Have a much broader look and have a leadership philosophy, what your guiding principles are. And if you're not a leader, even if you are a leader, the first thing you need to do is lead yourself. If you're not able to lead yourself first, then you're never going to get the opportunity to lead somebody else second or third. And part of that is, and I took a picture of it because it's in my book that I carry around with me every single day. And I rewrite it when I go into another black book. You see a lot of military folks have these little tiny binders that they walk around with and they write in. And I put this up front because that's where it belongs, is personal values and how you help lead yourself. First value is service, broken down to our God and Heavenly Father. Service to family, then country, then to your job and talents, and into others who are in need. Second, faith. That's always in and above, in and to the above, what I just talked about, and then in and to myself. Because if you don't have faith in yourself and the people around you, you're going to be hard-pressed to lead them. Integrity. That's truthful words, truthful acts, and truthful thinking and seeking. Trust. Always given freely and always retracted thoughtfully. Gratitude and grace for all your blessings and to and for all the people that are in your life. And then discipline, which is do the right thing the right way at the right time in order to make an impact. So also within leadership, again, know your values, know what you stand for, then you'll be able to bring those to bear with others that you're privileged and wish to lead. Be kind. That's way overrated in today's age, right? Being kind. Thinking about what somebody else might be thinking on what you're saying, how that might impact them. Especially impactful when you have to deliver bad news. Especially impactful when you have to tell somebody they may not be doing what they want to do for the rest of their lives, or they may not be getting that promotion, or they may be getting discipline. You can do that with a kindness and a respect. Be respectful. Always, as the chief talked about earlier, weigh your mission, weigh the people, and see what the best course of action is to be able to have the maximum impact on both. There's going to be times when the mission outweighs the people. Otherwise, we'd never be in harm's way. So we have to have a balance on that. Be humble. But don't confuse humility with a lack of strength, because that's not the case. And I'm going to quote John Maxwell when he talks about being humility and being humble. I'm going to read it directly. It does not mean you think less of yourself. It does mean you think of yourself less. So go back to that strength of character and that strength that you bring with you to get the job done and get the mission done. Take smart risk. Don't be afraid to fail. And always learn from your failures. I tell you what, I've learned a lot more from failure throughout life than I have from a lot of successes. And part of it is what you do with it. You hear fail fast, fail forward, fail quickly, all those kind of things that are du jour in business today and everything else. But when I think about it is, you really, if you do fail, you have to take a quick retrospect and then get on with it. Okay? It's okay to be sad. It's okay to grieve. If you don't get what you think you need, or if you aren't able to treat or aspire to a milestone that you want in your life, it's okay. If you do fail at that. And it's okay to go in the corner and suck your thumb for a little while, right? I've done that, trust me, and be sad. But the true measure is how you debrief, how you get back up, and how you move forward, taking that into stride. And if the goal is still achievable and attackable from a different direction, make it happen. If it's not, figure out what life is afterwards. And I'm just going to use a real short story. My mom and Elder and everyone else probably already knows about this, but I actually had the luck of being, and the privilege and the blessing of being selected for pilot training for the Air Force twice. I tell you, sometimes my priorities weren't exactly straight sometimes. And in my senior year of ROTC at Embry-Riddle down in Florida, I was taking a really heavy load in classes because I'd screwed some up before, and computer science, technical classes, taking 6 hardcore computing classes at the same time, and then also working full-time at night for General Electric, defense contractor. I was working computer systems for them at night. Most of the classes I could either, kind of min-run because I knew the stuff, and I do well in the finals, and I do well in the tests and everything else. But I didn't go to class a lot. And that was because I was either sleeping, I was at work, or I was in class doing all this stuff. There was one class in particular called Operating Systems that the professor was a real hard ass. And I failed to read the syllabus ahead of time and read through the whole thing. And classroom participation was a quite hefty part of the grade. And he would give pop quizzes. And I got an A on the midterm. I think I got a B on the final. And then I went to see my grade, and I failed. Failed the class. I needed to graduate. I already had a pilot training slot. I already had a date to go to pilot training. I was ready to go, and failed the class. I went and I begged the professor, who was a retired military guy, by the way, and my bonus dad elder called him and asked him if he could take some grace and consideration and have me do extra credit or do something to be able to make that time frame. And he said no, he didn't do the what was required of him. Failed to meet the objectives, failed to meet the standards. Well, I was devastated. Because of the timing on that, and because of the way that the slots fell out, I had 2 choices when brought in by my professor of aerospace studies, too. One was because I failed to meet the deadlines and timeline, and they really didn't need many pilots at that point. They were drawing down a little bit, that they would disenroll me from ROTC, send me to Lackland, and I'd be an enlisted man, which wouldn't have been a bad option, really, looking back, but just to go into a different career field but be enlisted. The other one was to sign a piece of paper saying I'd pay back my scholarship and gracefully bow out and leave under my own free will. I chose door number 2, pay back the scholarship and go on my own free will, but then never gave up and worked. Had to take the same class the next semester with the same professor because he's the only one that taught it. I was there every single day. Ask him what he took in his coffee. And I took a couple other computer classes as well, software engineering and everything else, because I really had to go out and get a job now. I didn't have that perspective before. I had to go out and find a job. So I took a couple of that, and then I graduated, went to work in industry for a while as a programmer and computer guy, and then kept in touch with my Air Force buddies and heard that they were looking for pilots again. And so I got the energy at that point, and I went and applied to the Navy, to the Marine Corps, to the Air Force, and retook all the tests, and I was going to go with the first one that came up. They offered me a pilot training slot, and it was the Air Force. I went to officers training school within like 6 weeks of going in and talking to the recruiter, and called it a day through officers training school. So I went through 2 full commissioning programs. I use that as an example to again, if you do fail, it's okay to grieve, get back up, find an alternate path, and go make it happen, if that's what your dream is. Don't be afraid to fail. Always learn from your failures. And always follow the cycle, as we do in flying. Just plan, brief, fly, debrief. That goes without saying on every single mission that we went out and did, and applies certainly in life today, is look at a retrospective of what you've done and what you can make better going forward. So again, also purposely develop your people. I tell you, I live in gratitude and humility for what's been allowed in my life. I live in joy for what I have in my life with my family and Jamie and everybody. I'm looking forward to spending a lot more time with them. And I truly appreciate the people that are here today. I know we're over time and we're listening to an old guy. What is it, Buzz? Where are you? Bloviate? Is that what it is? But I'll leave you with one last thought from someone who didn't accomplish this most of the time. Accomplished it quite a bit. You got to live balanced. You have to have that balance in your life. It makes you a more effective warrior. Be resilient. Do the things that make you resilient. Spend time with your family. You don't get that back. No matter how much you wish you could, you don't. Control the things that you can control, and then influence all the others. And as well, when you can be there with your family, because there will be missed birthdays, there will be missed anniversaries, there will be everything else. If it's in your control to be there, then be there. So thank you very much for coming here today. I appreciate you all. And this old Knuckle Dragon fighter pilot is done talking. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the benediction.
Jamie, Rude Dog, go with God's blessings. And may the next chapter be the best chapter. And when that happens, you will give us all a trail in which to follow. Amen.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Lundy. Ladies and gentlemen, you may now be seated. We would like to thank you for attending today's ceremony. The men and women of the United States Air Force are proud to have served with Brigadier General Retired Patrick Renwick and wish him success in future endeavors. You are invited to attend a reception in the West Foyer immediately following today's ceremony, and join us as we say farewell and best wishes to General Renwick and his family. This concludes our ceremony. Please stand for the departure of the official party. Thank you very much. This concludes the ceremony.